a surprise victory in the state of Virginia on Wednesday as Glenn Youngkin won the race for governor. Youngkin, an underdog at the start of the race, defeated the Democratic governor, Terry McAuliffe. It's the first electoral test for President Biden since he took office, and it doesn't bode well for midterms next year. Well, for more analysis on this, we can talk to Dr. Julie Norman, Deputy Director of the University College London Centre on US Politics. Thanks for joining us again on Euronews now. Euronews Tonight even. How damaging would you say this result in Virginia is for the Democrats and for Joe Biden?
Well, Alistair, we knew from the polls that this was going to be a tight race, but the outcome really is quite a faceplant for Democrats. In Virginia especially, this was a state that Biden had won by 10 points just 1 year ago. And so to have it flip quite decisively to Youngkin, to the Republican candidate, really is quite notable for Biden in general and for Democrats more broadly. For Biden, he's been at a low point for the last several months, really since the Afghanistan withdrawal. His approval ratings have been at an all-time low, and that did certainly affect voters. And as well, just Democrat frustration with the fact that they have been unable to get either of Biden's two main signature pieces of legislation through. So it's a real wake-up call for Democrats. It's certainly raising alarm bells throughout the party about how to readjust things and get some real policy, some policy measures being delivered before the midterms next year.
To what extent was it a referendum on Biden's presidency, or are there plenty of other issues coming into play?
Well, it certainly was partly about Biden, but it was also the first election that we've had in 5 years where Trump is either not on the ballot or in the White House, and that also played a big role. It allowed for much more maneuvering from the GOP candidates. Youngkin in particular was able to kind of thread the needle between MAGA supporters and more moderate Republicans and really open up the GOP back to independents, to moderates, to the suburbs, and make some real gains there. And at the same time, Democrats were just really failed in terms of painting Youngkin as a Trump clone, if you will. So the absence of Trump was quite telling, and this campaign will certainly be a blueprint for Republicans moving forward. It's important to note also, voters are responding to the lingering coronavirus. They were responding to the economy, to rising prices. So there's a lot that can still change between now and next November.
So if Youngkin's campaign is seen as a blueprint for Republicans, what do the Democrats have to do to get back on track?
Well, first and foremost, Democrats need to get through these two pieces of legislation that have been being batted back and forth between the moderates and the progressives on Capitol Hill. These are two bills that are central to Biden's agenda, and Democrats believe they will really deliver for working families in particular, and especially on economic issues, which was the #1 issue that voters said they were voting on in the state of Virginia, at least. So they really need some real wins there. They also need to be able to respond more effectively to some of the key issues that Youngkin particularly raised in this campaign, especially around education, around some of the teaching of race and some of the culture war issues. Education is usually something Democrats have in their bag, and they just weren't able to respond effectively to the way Youngkin framed that issue. So economy, education, getting really back on board and getting their messaging right is going to be very important for Democrats.
Dr. Julie Norman from the UCL Centre on US Politics, thanks very much for your time.